5:24 in the morning, West Coast time. It's still the 10th of February, 2024. We're in Rosemary, California. He's talking about Big Brother and responding to somebody on YouTube who had a problem concerning about homeless vets. And I'm talking about my brother's life. Hopefully, the guy understands what the hell's going on. You don't mistreat people like that. Anyway, continuing, my brother, he came back from the military, but he really wasn't out of the military. You signed a contract, you signed it for life. Until your life is ended, unfortunately. It's like being in the service of the empire, of Caesar's empire, of the Roman empire, of someone's empire. The day you die is the day you end your service to the glorious empire. So my brother would be clean and sober. He had gone through physical ailments, but in the military, you go through physical ailments and they still consider it, okay, you're still able to work one way or another until we consider you no longer physical fit in any capacity. So my brother was on the pathway for clean and sober. And a lot of things still haunting his ass during those days. It's not until we started getting into the 80s or Reagan era, and then we get into the Bush era. But during the Reagan era, back in the 80s, there was one incident over there. I think they made public, but this one my brother told me the stories about. When they blew up the embassy in Lebanon, my brother was there. The story was, my brother was on an op with a team he was assigned to, and they were bringing people back alive. So they were going to the embassy to rest. There was a shack in the back of the compound, and that's where they would hide, play poker or card games, and just wait. It was a supply shack they had back there. They were waiting for a helo evac, taking them the hell out of there, and they'd be going stateside after that. Are you kidding me? Because the first van came through the damn gates, barreled through, and got onto the damn compound. Everyone else went blitzkrieg at that point, and everything else went hell in a handbasket. The first van blew the whole, was blowing chunks out of that damn embassy. And part of that blast wave hit the shack. My brother didn't realize that he had rebar in him. Didn't matter, his instincts were kicking over. He took a weapon and he was going to kick ass. He was going to kill someone. There was a lot of shooting. Another explosion coming up. I think there were about 2 or 3 vans coming in. He was telling me about this one. Second one, I think blew. But blew outside the embassy. Embassy already taken a hell of a chunk out of just first van. The second van only did a partial explosion on that one, taking out more of the compound. My brother's specialty at the time, despite his eyesight, he took a weapon and he shot. Helped prevented another major explosion in the whole damn compound. It would have leveled the whole place. But it still did its damage anyway. Hundreds dead. Injured. We should have declared war in Lebanon during that time, but we didn't know who the hell was doing it. We really didn't know. Hezbollah, we didn't know what the hell was going on. Even stateside, we're watching this shit on the news, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. Ma was terrified because David had gone missing. He'd gotten a phone call. What was this, back 82, 83, I think, when it happened? Because it was during the time when Reagan was in office. I remember remember that much. My brother had already gone out of the damn thing because of the shit he'd been through, but you never out of the military exactly. Okay, U.S. Embassy, Lebanon, bombing. Oh, fuck. It was fucking 83. God. I wish to God I was in 83. He was just out of my brother got out in 82, and in 83, they dragged his ass back over there for the fucking mission. 40 fucking years ago, April 18th, 1983. They weren't going to say anything concerning about the military personnel over there that suffered like crazy. SEALs were pissed off about it. They were going to kick someone's ass at this point over here. My brother was too damn injured. And Hilo came in, the evac. They're getting out of the embassy. They're getting the hell out of the embassy. I mean, they're getting invaded. They're not taking any chances at this point over here. But they're telling my brother he's going. I'm not going anywhere. You're injured. I'm not injured. Didn't realize he had rebar stuck in his freaking back. Rebar from the explosion. Took him over to Ramstein, took the damn thing out, but they couldn't get out as much. They still left some of the stuff right next to his spine because they weren't good enough. And they didn't want to paralyze my brother. So they left a few chunks in. Small chunks, but still. It scared the hell out of him. He was pissed off. He came home. He came home with more war trophies in his body. He had told me when my brother was going through training, specialized training overseas, that two of his kneecaps had to be replaced with titanium. So my brother comes back from Lebanon. Old war trophies concerning about his kneecaps, and now he had pieces of metal in his back he could never get rid of until the day he died. That haunted him. That haunted him. He was given a medal. I think Silver Star or something. But he couldn't keep it. The thing is, when you're dishonorably discharged from the military, when you're other than, you don't get to keep your medals or awards. They keep them. And because my brother had done the unthinkable, the SEAL community was turning its back on my brother, apparently. And his first duty was his family. And we didn't turn the back on him until he was going through the drugs and alcohol, and he came back home. And then we took him back in, and my brother worked hard to get the family's respect and trust. Mine especially. And Moss. But the military wouldn't see it that way. For decades, they kept trying to send in paperwork with testimonies left and right, which long ago we've lost over the past several years. Testimonies from people who are no longer alive. He was trying to get his discharge upgraded to a general, so at least he would have medical benefits instead of just a burial, and that's about it. He didn't want the medals back. He wanted to get medical coverage to help him. So he had to stuck with private insurance. And it took him a hell of a long while to get disability going. I talked a lot in my wind files about my brother. A long while, my brother had talked to a few veterans, but he couldn't go into VAs. It wasn't allowed because of the damn discharge. He didn't go to the stand downs because we didn't know anything about the stand downs out in the San Fernando Valley. But when we got to Antelope Valley, it was a different story altogether. In the program, he had met veterans who'd been through NAM and later. Through them, he was making connections left and right. And through a homeless resource center out in Lancaster, we found more and more veterans out there. Stand downs my brother and I would go to talk to the veterans over there. And we talked to former SEALs. And they had verified my brother being one of them. One of them was called Lieutenant. I never knew his first name. He was part of SEAL Team 1. He gave me his pin. Well before he passed away. I liked that guy. I really did. I had respect for him. I had respect for every one of those damn veterans over there. Here's the thing. I had worked with veterans as a student. When I was going through high school, John F. Kennedy High School, between 81 and 85, there was a program called School Within a School, College Prep System. Long stories talked about this one here. But in the program, they had a geriatric rehabilitation involvement program with students. Basically, students would go over to a VA hospital and talk with the veterans for about an hour of their day in a week, or actually 2 hours. We would talk to the veterans, and we would play guard games with them, usually fish. They wanted to play poker. We didn't have anything to deal with that one. We couldn't. The coordinator at the time would not let us do that. So Building 99 was the one we kept going to all the damn time. Me and several students would pile into a white van and we'd drive over to the Veterans Center out in Sepulveda. Same one my brother kept trying to go into, but he couldn't because of his military clearance. Or his discharge would fuck him over. But still, as a teenager, I didn't know anything about that. All I knew is I was dealing with the veterans over there. World War II and World War I veterans at the time. Greatest generations. I remember their faces right now. Sometimes the names elude me, but I remember their faces. I dealt with these guys right after Grandma died. It was a way for me to give back and also for me to deal with the loss of a grandmother. Grandmother had never served, but maybe she would have in one time or another. So I had dealt with veterans. They were inbound. And I had no problems with dealing with the veterans. I didn't have any problems dealing with anybody in the military. And dealing with a brother who was in the military, that was it. My brother went to the stand downs decades later. And we talked to the veterans. But I'll tell you what really hit me like crazy. I was in between jobs, and we were still living in the Antelope Valley. And I would have to go to county facilities to look for work, not to mention substance. Yeah, they always like that. You go to the GR buildings, General Relief. You dealt with families left and right, but you also dealt with veterans out there still looking for assistance. You go to the food giveaway places, you dealt with the veterans over there. Some of them actually had been discharged dishonorably. They'd have ID. They were only allowed to have ID, I guess, to a point. But they couldn't hold any jobs, and they depended upon food giveaways. I couldn't help but stare in disbelief and be sick to my stomach over it. Then I was told by some of the veterans out there that some of their brethren were still in the streets left and right. Because you were dishonorable, you couldn't even rent. Some of them had to turn to drugs and alcohol and die off. Some tried to get clean and sober and worked on trying to getting their discharges going. They were allowed to live in halfway houses when they could. And worked with other groups just to get their discharges upgraded. There's veteran centers we've got out here in the Antelope Valley in California that would help them out. Now the veteran groups, VFWs. Talk to these guys personally. My brother had a hard time dealing with it because he knew these guys. He knew their type. We didn't avoid the veterans. If we went to food gathering places, we didn't avoid them. We talked to them. We also talked to other family members. You go to the stand-outs, you talk to the veterans who actually got free stuff. Medical treatment right there in the spot. They'd have dentistry. They'd get toiletry, sundry items, change of clothing if needed. When I hear somebody telling me online that they can't stand the homeless veterans, then I think the guy's full of shit. I'm calling him on it. You don't know unless you walk the damn path. You don't know them unless you've already been there. Yeah, you've been there in your damn drug situation there, Daryl, but the problem is, pal, you hadn't been there, you hadn't served. Yeah, they call it all voluntary because you volunteer, you didn't get drafted. But I'll tell you, back in the 70s, before they ended the war in Vietnam, my mother was terrified that my brother was going to be drafted. My brother wasn't old enough by 5 years. If they had continued it, my brother would have gone. And she would have done everything else she could just to keep him away from it. I couldn't serve because I was medically 4F. I came out of my mother's womb that way. But it did mean, and it did not diminish my capacity to feel for these guys. They went through hell in a handbasket. And for that, and also knowing that I had uncles who went through hell. I had, one or two uncles that survived Pearl Harbor and came back alive. One mentally screwed up, and the other one lost a limb. I had another uncle, as I said before in my other videos, who went to Korean War and couldn't talk about it afterwards. I had a cousin I didn't even know, except for my brother, and when I started reading news articles about him, I'm like, what? Then he went to Nam and came back. And became a sheriff in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and unfortunately, he passed away in, I think, late 80s, early 90s. He was working on a farm and a tractor overturned and killed him, crushed him to death. He survived Nam. And he gets killed by a goddamn tractor. My brother had been through combat, damn near died in Lebanon. He would have gone into the military either way. When we had the first Gulf War kick in, when Saddam Hussein, I don't use his name properly, by the way. He was insane. Too many stories on this asshole. But he took the oil, he took the fields of Kuwait. Politics. Get the guy out of there because he was becoming a threat to everybody and threatening people with weapons of mass destruction. So yeah, naturally we had to have a coalition out there to get the asshole out of there. I damn near lost a friend out there, and I damn near lost my brother out there. My brother was still sinning, despite the damn discharge. I mean, once you sign the damn contract, you're in there for life, as I said before. It doesn't matter if you're dishonorably discharged or not. If you're still physically able to serve, you're thrown into it. And my brother was thrown into it. My brother gets the call. Not to go to. This was well after the embassy bombing. I'm trying not to relive what the hell happened on the civilian side because that was hell enough right there as it is. I had been working at a retail store and I had been seeing Operation Desert Shield turning into Operation Desert Storm. A friend of mine, a very good friend of mine from high school, a guy named David DiTomaso, and he's still alive. I love that Zig man. He was a good friend, still is. Drummer, plays for fun, and he loves it. He's got a family. He was at Circuit City when I was there, and he also put in his papers for the military. Next thing I know, he left, got trained in the army, and he got sent overseas. My brother gets the fucking call. He's packing stuff at a home. Let's see. We were living in Woodley at the time, North Hills. And they were just building up. My brother and I were all watching this shit. We had cousins coming over at one time, and they were seeing a war, and they had their own damn opinions. Damn cousins. These guys, I don't even know why they were so screwed up in the head that they were. Didn't matter. My brother got the damn call. He's backing his trash up, and he's putting his stuff in his the Maverick. No, not the Maverick. He sold it out to somebody else. He got a Datsun B210 green hatchback bomb. Damn thing was hard as hell to drive, I swear to God. He was only gone a few weeks. He was only gone a few weeks. When they started up, when they get an operation starting up, Ma and I were watching this damn shit on the news. We didn't realize some of the operations happening in the desert my brother and other units were being involved with. It's not until decades later in meeting halls I'm learning more and more about the damn operation. It was said that there were military guys setting off a few oil fires out there in the Gulf. Either Saddam or U.S. military, I don't know who the hell it was. But somewhere in that damn firefight, my brother was out there. And after it was all over, my brother came back home after through the briefing, and he really couldn't talk about it after that. Now, until we're in the meeting halls and he's around military veterans, he was actually talking about it, some of them to them and then me about it. But not in the meeting times. It's like in between meetings, you usually have a little time and space. My brother had to talk about it. We'd go home and talk about it in detail on that one. And the shit he went through, I don't even want to talk about. Not because of national security, because I saw the shit happening on the television, what the hell was going on. I remember those images. CNN was showing the activity happening in Baghdad as they were getting the shit kicked out of them by the U.S. military and by coalition forces. We're watching it online. Ma and I and our cousin were watching this shit happening. You talk about feeling sick to our stomach at this point. January 1991. 91 was the last year I worked at Circuit City. Back in September. And got, long story on that one, got kicked out of the company. But prior to that, we were seeing it. Ma and I were watching this damn shit, so was our cousins, not knowing what the hell was going on. We go to work. Actually, I go to work. Ma had her business at home, bookkeeping and income tax specialist. She was trying to build up her business. Our cousin stayed for a short time and then had to leave. Long story on that one. He really couldn't talk about it. Not until decades later. And when you go to the stand-downs, he would talk about it a great deal at length. Only after he talked to me first, and then he'd talk to them. And then they would share their experiences. I've dealt with military all my life. I wanted to be these guys. I couldn't. The only thing I could do was serve veterans. The only thing I could do was serve my brother the best I could. I know what it's like to be homeless, scared shitless, and not knowing if you're going to get tossed out or not. I know what it's like to get evicted because of a long-ass battle with management companies doing sneaky tactics and also for not paying rent or for whatever reason that they would kick your ass out. I know what it's like to be forced out of your home. I know what it's like to live on the streets for a short time, and it's terrifying as hell even for a time. Depending upon the kindness of strangers, to keep a roof over the head, and that would be a motel room. Not knowing if you're going to have a place to call home or not. I've been a renter all my life. So I know what being evicted is all about. And it sucks and it's humiliating as hell. I know what it's like to living on a dependency upon the kindness of strangers. And it's humiliating as hell. Even the veterans feel this shit. Even the veterans feel this damn shit. Yeah, sounds like I glorify these guys because, yeah, they volunteered to go into the shit. We paid them to go into the shit. And they come out worse. And then we treat them like shit after that. Every time there was a story concerning about veterans being mistreated, my brother and I were watching the damn shit. And these days I am too. I get pissed off every time we get back talk from veteran administrators. So they're going to change the system, but they really don't. So yeah, I got a problem with that one there too. If you've already been through this shit before, you know what drug abuse is about. You know what alcoholism is about. You know how addicted that damn stuff is. Well, there's said before, you know the story, but the problem is you really don't know the story. You don't get into that situation unless there's a hell of a backstory to it. And me being a writer for all my damn life, being a reader and then being a writer for a lot of stuff. I just hadn't gotten published. I wish I had. But there's always research, and in the research you find more and more things that you never knew. So yeah, I feel for the homeless out there. I feel for the veterans out there. We even had veterans out here in Roseman, Veteran Foreign Affairs. There was one guy we kept trying to help out because he had served. He had served overseas. The Afghan War, the Afghan-Iraq War that we actually had, he was part of that. His name was Billy. Everyone called him Billy, but he was known by another name on social media. Couldn't even get that name. Barely remember what that name was about. He lost his family. He became screwed up right after the damn war. And he lived out here for several years. Well before I got here in this damn town. Before my brother had actually stepped foot in Rosemont, he has been here. He's passed away. He got shot and killed by a cop. Theoretically while trying to reach for a weapon. Not enough of the town mourned his ass. You don't go through combat and be sane. You always have to have help. Combat is one of the most violent things you could ever do to yourself, except maybe to admit a lot of other things. But you get to be turned into a damn vegetable somewhere inside. You get to scream and yell inside your damn skull, but you can't say it outside. For reasons. I'd seen my brother do the same damn shit. He'd wake up in the middle of the night screaming his head off because he had been there. Medications weren't keeping down the damn demons. He had been clean and sober. He never went back to the damn drinking or using. But he had to be stuck with the medications to keep him alive and sane. You tell me that you're against these guys because of the damn flag waving crap? I got more respect for them than I do for the other guys who are trying to make them into fucking heroes. But for me, they are heroes because they had to step into the shit. And I had to live with them. My own PTSD, dealing with someone else's PTSD. You try doing that shit. You don't know your ass from a hot rock on this one, pal. Veterans had to go through a hell of a lot of crap, and yeah, they'd volunteer for the damn shit, but they really didn't know what the hell they got to get themselves into until they got into it. I just have enough respect for some of them who actually get into politics, but then turn out to be total dickheads after that. Assholes and assholerettes. But the ones who've actually tried to make themselves a positive change for everybody, including the veterans, I'd saluted. But the ones that kept trying to insult people left and right, I turned my back on those assholes. You don't know until you've been through it. You've already been through your own damn shit. And you merited that regarding talking about your own damn recovery. You don't start fucking picking on it goddamn vets, you asshole. You don't.